In this next series of videos, we're going to be looking at various cost analysis techniques that can be used for decision making. Specifically, we'll do an exercise involving special orders, one doing a buy or make decision, and one whether we want to drop a product line. Let's begin with the special order, and a special order by definition is a one-time contract that we will enter into that is outside of our normal business operations, and we do not expect to have similar types of orders in relationship with this customer on an ongoing basis. We're going to be using problem 433 for this. It is on page 136, so be sure to read through it so you understand where the data is coming from, and you can pick out the pertinent information. As I have taken this information and begun to build a spreadsheet to do this analysis. We're given the current selling price, we're given the variable cost per unit. They tell us that the fixed overhead is $24,000 in total, and they give us a fixed cost per unit of $1.20. So let's begin by determining the current operating profit so that we may compare it. Our sales revenue is going to be the number of gallons of ice cream sold, which we're budgeting at 20,000 times the selling price of $4.80. For our variable costs, we're going to be taking each of our variable costs and multiplying it by 20,000. Now we can do a little shortcut, since the process of doing this will be taking the unit price, which is the cell to the immediate left, and multiplying it by cell C6. C6, we can lock in that cell into our formula by putting dollar signs in front of the column and the row number. That's not going to change our answer, but it allows us to do this. It allows us to take our formula and copy and paste it to our various variable costs. Our total variable costs are the sum of the total costs, and our contribution margin is our revenue minus our total variable cost. Our fixed costs are set at 24,000. Don't be fooled by this $1.20. The 24,000 is going to remain the same as long as we are within the relevant range, regardless of the volume of ice cream we produce. So our operating profit is going to be our contribution margin minus that 24,000. And that gives us a current operating profit of 18,000. Now let's move over to our alternative and identify the information that is relevant to our decision. Every gallon of ice cream we make is going to require the same material, labor, and variable overhead that we do in our normal operations. So the material will be $1.80, labor 60 cents, and the variable overhead 30. Now, you may say, well, this doesn't change between decisions, so is it relevant? Well, remember, we're dealing with the total cost, not the unit cost. So let's see if they change. We're going to produce an additional 400 gallons of ice cream, so our production will be set at 20,400. Multiply that by $1.80, and yes, indeed, we do have a change. Our alternative minus our status quo is an increase of $720. So these variable costs will be relative. Let's start building our analysis. So we're going to first determine the revenue, and that's going to have two components. It's going to have the status quo, so we can take the answer we had in cell C7, and to that we can add the additional units. And since those additional units are being sold at an amount lower, we can't just multiply 20,400 by 3.6. We're only selling 400 units at $3.60. 20,000 units are being sold at $4.80. So our revenue is going to be 97,440. Now we can't copy and paste that like we did before because our formulas here change. But we can do that for our material. So we can lock in cell E6 using our dollar signs and then copy and paste. Our total variable cost is the sum of our costs. Our contribution margin is our revenue minus our cost. Remember, don't be fooled by that $1.20 per unit fixed cost. The fixed costs are going to remain at 24,000 regardless of the difference in activity. So now our profit is going to be our contribution margin minus our fixed cost. So let's see what our analysis shows. We want to do the same calculation we did before, that is taking the alternative and subtracting out the status quo. We can copy and paste into the remaining cells, and this shows that if we take the special order, we will have an additional profit of 360,000 because the fixed costs are not relevant to our decision.